welcome to another exciting episode of The Energy That Surrounds Us. I'm your host, Michael, joined by my co host, Michelle. She's smiling for all of you in radio world.
Oh, hey guys. Thanks for showing up.
Tonight, we have a really cool episode for you guys. Not that all of our episodes aren't cool, but we are joined tonight with the amazing Dr. Kimberly McGeorge.
Yay. I'm excited for this show.
We're excited you are here. And so, for everyone who's not aware of you or hasn't come across any of your workings, can you give a little bit of background?
Yeah, sure. So I was born what they call partially awake, meaning I came in kind of with the knowledge that, this wasn't my first time here, and I didn't really know what was going on. Too bad I wasn't fully awake. It took me a long time to figure things out, and I'm still figuring things out. But hey, Christy. But from a child, I didn't know everybody didn't have psychic abilities or paranormal abilities. I saw colors and symbols around people. I didn't know it was called this, but I had a really strong ability to remote view naturally. I guess I had the ability then. I know I do now, but I guess I had the ability back then to open portals. So when I took a nap, I'd open portals in my ceiling and of my house and go travel and go out of body and wander around the galaxy and meet all kinds of good beings, bad beings, all kinds of human discarnates, go into different dimensions. Then I figured out not everybody was like me. So I kind of shut down, as many children, as you guys know, do, until I got out of my household that was very, very strict and religious. And when I went to college, I started kind of saying, okay, I can reveal tiny little bits of my psychic ability. And so as that really valued, which is weird because I was going to a Christian college. So it's kind of weird that my psychic abilities are really valued, but they were. I drew the attention of local law enforcement, and I worked on some cases back in the 80s. Just the occult and cults were really big, and they were developing their occult crime units. And I was outside Chicago. So it wasn't very glamorous, but I've worked on some cases with the local law enforcement and learned to do, I don't do them this way and I don't call them this, but back then I called them exorcisms. Now I would call them, gosh, I don't know. I can't believe I used to charge people a lot of money for that because now everybody's so jumped all the time, which we could talk about if you wanted. We've discovered through technology, there's human discarnates in people all the time, including me. And so, what we used to think is this, Rosemary's Baby movie is really a lot more common than we think. But back then, I did the big kind of Catholic Christian exorcism thing. And I started doing that when I was 20, became pretty well known in the paranormal. I was a number of groups all over the world and countries, psychic medium. I don't know. I'm sure you guys know Shane Pittman of the Holzer Files. I was his psychic medium. I always say before he got me behind, unfortunately. I haven't talked to him in a while, but I'm really happy for him that he made it big. And so, yeah, that's kind of my story and mini, at least the paranormal part.
Oh, you made it big too, though.
In a different way. Yes, you're right. Correct.
So an interesting question I have for you is all this technology that you're talking about using and everything, how did you bring that knowledge in? Or was that just knowledge you had?
It's so interesting you asked me that. It's almost like you're a little bit intuitive. Haha. But I'm just kidding.
I am.
I know you are. That's why I said haha. But well, can't come to find out, I've done this through all time and space. So this is not my first rodeo. Of course, I didn't know that. And if you told anybody in high school that I would be like huge in technology and have a patent in medical technology and all this stuff, they would be like, you are lying. I just didn't know that was like an affinity I had. But really what led me to technology was I was having health problems when I was a young mother. And my midwife said to me, there's this woman way back in the hills of Ohio who has this machine. And when you're sick and you're tired and you're desperate and you'll do anything to feel better. So she's like, well, you have to drive an hour, and she doesn't have any degrees, and she just has this machine. I'm like, I don't care what it is. If it can make me feel better, I'm there.
Right.
So
Yeah.
I went on this machine. And the first time I went on this machine, even though she didn't use it like I ended up using it, or I don't think she was just more like 3D about it than I ended up being. But the first time I went on, like I heard this voice inside my head, which I now think was my oversoul. And it said, you'll one day own this machine and you'll help thousands of people. And I ended up owning 2 of those machines and helping thousands of people. So just really crazy, because it was just it's just a biofeedback machine. But that's when I first became aware about frequencies and how we're radio towers, and that every single thing that goes on in us, every single thought, every single emotion, every single program, Michael, it can all be read. It's because our memory isn't in our brain. They lie to us about where our memory is. Our memories aren't in our brain. They're in our energy field. They're with our soul. So if you're a fire creation spirit and you're an eternal being, you carry all your memories with you. So what their technology does, it doesn't erase our memories. They can't take those from us. So, now one of the things I do is help people release their trauma and start to remember, so they can remember who they are through all time and space. And of course, all time is now and non-local. So you can also look at your future lives, which is super cool.
Right. So, Kimberly, I'm going to point out that when you were talking about the memories, I don't think they wanted that information out, because you totally froze out. And your no words came through. It's like before, it's like your image would kind of freeze, but we could still hear you.
Mm-hmm.
But they totally were no words, nothing.
You sound like me, Michael. I'm always talking about they.
So yeah, it was kind of funny, because I'm going, ooh, this is gonna get interesting. And then I was like, wait, what just happened?
I'm sorry.
See, I feel like I'm still oblivious to so much. I'm just like, oh, yeah, okay. Just had a bad signal for a minute, and I just going about my life. I think I live happily in my partial naivety.
So, I love it. I wish I was you some days. Most days, probably.
Well, 20 years from now, I will be a very different human, because every day I learn something new.
Oh, me too.
In all the pieces, it's almost like up until now, actually up until about a year ago, I was just given a box of puzzle pieces and I just fit them together how I thought they went. And now it's kind of like they all got thrown in the air. And now I'm like, oh my God, that wasn't even the puzzle. That was the back of the puzzle. Now I'm seeing all the color of the front of the puzzle. And I'm like, oh, okay, so I could do this. I just learned a name for, when I can see things in rooms that I've never been in. And I can't remember what is that called? Remote viewing. When I can see things that I've never been in the room, never known anything. I'm just like, oh yeah, it fell underneath the chair or whatever. And
wow.
So I didn't even know there was a name for that. And there's just all these really weird quirks that are now getting names, which is really cool. So yeah, and I just love it. Every week I get to meet new people like you, and I get to find out new things and new things to not learn about, so I can stay naive. And
I love it. I love it.
So I'm kind of curious, and I know this probably will be a topic not familiar with this audience, but more for my other show, Writing Through the Unknown. But I'm really curious, and this is one piece of information I want to make sure gets out to the masses. Is your machine that you're talking about that can read and do all this healing stuff, is that like the med beds that they're talking about that are coming out, or is this like totally completely different?
No, well, you can't say it's really totally and completely different, because the med beds do work on, quantum technology and frequency in the plasma field. So, I mean, there's crossover, of course, but no, the technology, it's just a simple that I use. Well, I shouldn't make it sound like that, but it's just a simple app that's a biofeedback app But again, it's one of those profound things that can be as complicated as you understand it, because I've been working with this technology and similar technology for 30 years. So the way I use it is different than a lot of people use it. And it's like anything else, Michael. It's the skill of the programmer. And I'm just really, really good. I understand the technology on a very, very high level. Because I mean, I also do it for other companies and, from the ground up. So I use it differently than other people, if that makes sense. So it's very simple technology. It has a frequency output signal. So some people use it or claim to use it for healing. I don't find that it's super effective for a lot of healing. I find that it's effective for acute things. I have some stories of acute things where it really, really helped. But, I'm not going to claim like some people would that it might cure, I don't want to say anything is illegal. I have to be careful because I'm not allowed to diagnose and prescribe because I'm a naturopathic doctor, not a medical doctor. But, people say this cures this or that. And I don't believe it does. Because what I found, the longer I work with this technology, oh my gosh, it's the subconscious beliefs. It's the alters. Like I used to think like, multiple personality disorder was like a psychiatric disorder that happened in the movies, to crazy people. It's all of us. Like you and I, Michael, because most of us were taken to black ops sites and we were fractured deliberately with satanic ritual abuse into altars. And I know that's not the direction we're going, but, so, and it's so cool when you have 100% accurate technology, the way I use it. And I have to, like I said, everybody thinks they can buy this and be me, and you can't, but you can be you, and AI, everybody's like against AI, and I'm not against AI because this AI is completely neutral. And I love having something that's neutral because guess what? I have bias. I don't want to have certain subconscious beliefs. I don't want to have certain personality characteristics. I don't want to have certain thoughts. But I'm telling you, AI will call you out all day long, 24/7 for the rest of your life because it doesn't care. It's just going to read the frequency. Oh, there we go. There we go, freezing. It's just going to read the frequency. I also have to watch my energy. Frequency, everything is frequency all the way back to the all. Every single thing is light, color, and sound. Every single thing has a frequency. And so jealousy, for example, is a specific frequency, whether Michelle has it, you have it, I have it, or my dog has it. It's still the same frequency. And so it's a beautiful thing to have this unbiased thing to start to help people who want to know what's out of balance in them, face themselves. Why don't I have more money in my bank? Well, let's look at all your beliefs about money. Let's look at all your programming. Let's look at all your blocks. Let's look at beings that are reversing your timelines. Almost every single person on this reality right now, timeline reversed every single day by negative ETs. And we wonder, why aren't we further in our relationships? Why aren't we further in our career? Why aren't we further in our bank account? Because there's what I like is it starts to make the invisible visible, and it's 100% accurate. I have hundreds and hundreds of responses from scans I've done. I just had 2 today. One girl, it's so funny, they buy a scan, but no one wants to believe it. So she went to her chiropractor and she had him muscle test every single thing I told her on the scan. I'm like, oh gosh, I can't wait to hear this, because muscle testing can be subjective. I used to teach it, so I know it has kind of a play to it. She's like, he agreed with every single thing you said. And I'm like, yep, 100% accurate. Who can say that? I don't know a lot of people, but I can say it.
Right.
But because it's not me, you are 100% accurate. Michelle's 100% accurate. And my field is 100% accurate about what's going on in me. So I call myself the lazy psychic because I have help now.
I love that. The lazy psychic.
Question for you. We were talking about it before you came on earlier backstage, but for me, everything in my life is done by vibration. Every direction I turn, every move I make, everything has a vibration. And I can't emphasize to people that everything has a vibration, whether it's its own or it's something, another one's vibration bouncing off of it. Everything has a vibration. So you say frequency, and that makes like a person like me a little bit nervous because vibration can actually be painful to me, like the bass in a speaker in a car, or even some people's voices will hit a certain frequency that is actually, I just want to run or beat them. either way, because it just goes, it hits a certain part of me that's just horrible.
I think
You talk about the frequencies of your machine. Would that affect a person like myself could it affect us in a negative way? Or, I mean, how does that work?
well, first of all, do you know, I mean, I'm picking up a really, speaking of frequency, I'm picking up a really elemental frequency from you. So I believe you were Fae in one of your most recent past lives. And Fae,
I've actually heard that. And that's so funny that you say that. You're about the fourth person in my life that has said that.
because you are, that's the frequency. That's how we know. And that's why I'm not the only one saying it, because it's like broadcasting off you like crazy. But Fae are, you just said like a typical Fae, like what a Fae would say, because Fae, you know, they are tiny. They're very tiny. They're very delicate, and they're very, very magical and very sensitive. And so that doesn't surprise me. So no, the frequencies aren't harmful. Could they irritate you? Yes. You know, I don't use the frequency output very much. I give balancing tracks, so I use it a little bit. But I use it mainly as a diagnostic tool to help people remember and teach them how to reconnect to their power and let them know kind of aware of what they need to work on in their life, and, you know, what they need to do, you know, as simple as, are you dehydrated? You know, drink more water. And, you know,
did you say warm water?
No,
What?
she said if you're dehydrated,
Yeah.
drink more water.
Oh,
Yeah,
more. I thought you said warm. And I was like, I can't believe you said that, because I hate cold water. I hate cold water more than anything. It has to be warm or hot. It cannot be cold.
Well, that's Chinese medicine for you. So the Chinese would be like, good job, because they would never, ever have you drink cold water, because you'll put out the stomach fire, you know? Yeah. So you're right on it.
Oh, well, that's good. But I thought you said warm water. I was like, what? Say that again, because I just can't believe you said, because everyone's like, I can't believe you drink warm water. I'm like, I can't believe you're putting that cold into your hot body.
That's
like, it's like a shock right there.
Yeah, the Eastern medicine people would be like, yep, you're right, because it's called putting out the stomach fire. You don't want to put out your stomach fire, because then you can't digest and break down your food. Yeah.
Wow. Well, thank you for answering that. That's just, you blew my mind when you said Fae. I haven't heard that in so many years. I didn't even know what it meant until, you know, now. I wonder if that's why I enjoy the more whimsical, earthy, fun things. Like, I don't want to.
Yeah, they're really childlike. They're really playful. I don't want to say they're naive, but the whole way you've been talking, you know, since we started the show, like kind of how you want to be in your own little world. I hate to say that's how Fae are, but that's how Fae are, because the Fae have such a magical world, and it's so connected to nature. They don't want, like, some of the stuff like we'll talk about, or you guys talk about, you know, the paranormal. They're just like, you know.
Yeah. I've been called a paranormal snot before, but I don't mean to be. I just am like, but I love it. I love to get the answers. I love to help people. But as far as me, I'd rather go play outside in the leaves and the dirt and harvest. This is the best time of the year when you can harvest flower seeds. Just go around harvesting all the time.
You're so Fae. It's crazy.
Well, it's not a bad thing. I'm glad.
No, it's a good thing. I love a lot of good friends that are Fae.
Some of the Faes are really fun to be around.
He's not talking about me. Yeah, I don't think Michael likes to play in the woods like me. So,
you'd be wrong on that one.
Well, we'll see. We'll see how I'm not very outdoorsy, but I love the woods. So that's great that you can do that for people, and that you can identify all these fun things, and kind of makes you feel like you've found more parts of yourself that you didn't know you had lost until you hear them, and it's a register. Like, I knew that. I didn't know I knew that, but I knew that. And that makes sense. So it's so good that you can fill those blanks in for people like me who have so many blanks. We have the knowledge, but there's no strings to attach those things. So for people like you coming on here and other people to be able to connect these little bitty, I don't know, vines together to make it make sense is great.
So going back to the paranormal, I'm going to say I just saw your screen blink and something black dart across your screen. I might actually have to really rewatch this one to go back.
Even see that.
But yeah, I saw it. It was like a black bar over your right shoulder, and it went like this and just darted
Whose?
across. And
Mine
there
or
was like
Kimberly?
over Kimberly.
I
Hmm.
didn't see
I
anything.
saw my screen freeze, but it was frozen for a while, so I didn't
Huh.
see anything. I'm not surprised though. There's tons of stuff.
Yeah. When I get
Can I ask you
excited,
guys a
weird things
question?
happen.
Sure.
Yeah.
You guys are like talk to more people than I do about the paranormal. So I want to ask you a question of something I've observed for the past year. I don't know why I didn't notice it before. I'm sure it was there before. So every time I go in Airbnbs, every time I go into hotels, and every time I go into my bedroom, which has, do you guys know what I mean when I say Walmart blinds? Like the typical blinds that you turn the thing and,
Yeah,
you know,
the little white one.
Right.
they're like $5 or $10 or $20. Like they're not expensive.
Yeah.
Like I have great blinds, you know, beautiful linen blinds in all my house, like my bedroom. I never replace my Walmart blinds. I'm just lazy. So every time I'll go in my bedroom and I'll close my Walmart blinds, and then I'll like go in my bathroom, take a shower, whatever, and I'll come out, and I could send you guys pictures, and the slats are messed up, like a lot, like up high, down low. And sometimes I'll turn my back and I'll hear those slats go open.
Oh,
And
man.
we've gone in Airbnbs with other people and they've been freaked out. They're like, why do the blinds look like this? And I'm like, because there's these prankster beings, I think, that do
Yeah.
this. And it's
Sounds like
like,
fairies or pixies.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I was just about to say. I think
and
it's
sometimes it's really high, like taller than me, you guys. So it's just kind of, I mean, I'm used to it, but it's a little creepy. I just wonder if you guys have ever noticed that or anybody else has ever talked about that.
Yeah, it used to happen a lot to me. I would, and it's still, I have tassels on my embroidery things, and I'll come in and the tassels will be twisted.
Oh,
Like
okay.
someone has played with them, or
Okay.
they've
Yeah.
moved my keys around or whatever. They're just playing with you just to do it. That's what I think. So,
Yeah,
and
it
it
doesn't
could be
seem real
spirit.
sinister, but it's weird when you can hear, like you turn around and then you hear them go up and then you turn back around. It's weird to hear it happen. It's one thing to be in the other room,
Right.
you know, but I don't know. It's
Yeah.
just kind of,
Yeah.
And it could be a spirit. It could be a breeze. You know, they could be just around. You know, there's so many. There's just what if? Why not? You know.
yeah.
It most likely could be like fairies just saying, hey, we're here, and and like you were saying, you view them as small and on the ground, and they may be saying, trying to say to you, hey, we can get up high too.
I would think that's true.
We're
They
not
can do
limited.
anything they want. I mean, why not? They just
That's
do.
true. Good point. Yeah, we're so limited in the way we think of the fourth in all the dimensions, but the fourth dimension is so interesting because everybody always says, I want to see the fourth and fifth dimension. I want to, and I'm like, do you guys know how many beings? It's not just like dogmen, Sasquatch, human discarnates, fairies, trolls, little people. It's like crazy stuff, like monsters and out of your worst nightmares and dark consciousness. And I mean, everybody's like, let's raise to the fifth dimension. I'm like, why don't we raise to like the 5,000th dimension? Because the fifth dimension is really, really low. Like, it's so funny. We have such I love that you brought this up, Michelle. We have such limited thinking, don't we?
Yes, it's crazy. I was raised based in half Pentecostal, half non-denominational. And I always thought, why do they say this isn't right? Why? Like, I always wanted to know why. Why can you can say that God can put a skull on the back of a spider that's the size of a pencil eraser, but he didn't make a horse with a horn or some wings? Why? Why? Like, why do we have to limit? And maybe it's just the lack of maturity for our generations for umpteen years that we can't possibly. It's like people being so horribly cruel to me for being able to talk to spirits and for spirits to talk to me. And I tell them, all of us could.
Yeah, I agree.
All of us could. We don't use a fraction of our brain. How can you condemn people now because we've dumbed up society? How can you be so cruel? I can't do math. You can do math. Do we make fun of you for doing math because I can't do math? I talk to spirits. Maybe if I used a different part of my brain, I could do math, and maybe you could be talking to the spirits. So, come on.
And it amazed me because I was talking to some people at this Paracon I was at, And the last thing that they said to me, like, it surprised me how they thought. And they were like, because they didn't like something that we were talking about. And so they said, well, the the gentleman goes, well, what we'll find out at the end is either we were right and you were wrong, or you were
Yeah.
right and we were wrong. And I was
It's
like,
not right.
there's a third option to that, right? And he goes, what do you mean there's a third option? I
We're
go,
all
what
right.
if you're right or I'm right and you were wrong, but you decide, hey, I can do that and go along with you being right and come over to that side. And he kind of looked at me and was like stunned that I could think about taking black and white and saying, hey, look, there's gray.
It's so, again, Michael, and Michelle, and you guys know this, like, it's a 3D polarity game. Actually, it's not. We're at 4.2, which I'm so happy about. But it's a polarity game, I mean, it is black and white here. And people love, one of the things I've really been teaching and working a lot in my own life on, and it's hard, is not making the other person wrong. We're so programmed. Oh my gosh, it's hard.
Yes.
It's like in us deep to make the other person wrong and not just allow. And so it's challenging. And I guess for you guys, it might be challenging too, doing a show like this. It's challenging just to put forth my ideas, and I get vicious. I know how you feel, Michelle. I get viciously attacked for the things I say, like viciously, like crazy. You should be in a nut house, all worse, They should hang you
I've had
as
my
we
share.
bitch, it's heresy, all this garbage. But anyway, but it's hard just to take that neutral point of view. But really, and it's okay to be in polarity in a way, not for me because I'm trying to get higher than 3D.
Yes.
But I get why they get, I get why it's hard here. It's so 3D here. It's hard to get out of like the physicality. Even Michelle, don't you ever, even with your gifts and my gifts, aren't you ever challenged, and don't you ever kind of forget and get really kind of 3D and forget? I mean, even
I cage myself all the time. I cage myself. I tell myself, no, you have got to stop that. That is not correct. Why can't it be? Why can't I do that? Stop boxing myself in around the parameters that I think are right, because they're not right, because they have no answer. It's just a wall. It is just a brick wall with no answers, no corrections, no nothing. It's just a wall that I'm putting up myself. Why can I not think further? Why can I not hope or love? Or why can't I love 1,000 people? Why must I only love one?
I love that. The limitless, trying to be limitless and bring that into your reality with practical application is challenging. The limitless.
And I even found that shockingly, and I'm sure I will get many, many messages on this one, but even my view on monogamy has really changed.
Oh my gosh, I love that. I'm sorry. This is exciting. Other than my daughters, who, of course, they're awake and, so we're really close and we have these conversations. Oh my gosh, I was raised, Christian.
Oh yeah.
I have totally changed my views on monogamy.
Completely.
Marriage,
dating is really challenging. Everything. When I say, well, this is how I believe, and they're like, whoa, I don't think I can do that. I'm like, well, no,
I'm with you.
And it's interesting because for me, it's like where you guys say you saw the walls and would be like, stop. Me, I was like, I looked at them kind of like Stargate shows the wormhole where they stick their finger in it, like pulls out. And to me, that's what I was like. I would see the wall and I'd be like touching it and going, well, apparently I can go through this wall. So what's on the other side? And I'd be like halfway through and going, well, wait, if I go all the way through, how am I going to relate to these people? So I would find myself staying halfway through. Like I would be one side on seeing one thing and the other side saying, no, we got to keep our focus here because if we're going to describe this, we got to be able to relate to these people. So it's like I always find myself right in the middle.
No, not me. I still find myself trying to be the good girl, the good woman, the good mother, the good nana, and I realize that I'm not good to anybody if I am not being me, and if I'm not me, I will explode now. I literally feel the tension. Instead of the tension coming in at me, now I feel like it's within me, and it's going to I'm going to implode if I don't let out the energy, the things the spirits are telling me, the vibrations, the love. If I don't tell people they're beautiful, or that you know they're smart, or whatever, if I don't let it out, I'm just going to hurt myself, and it will manifest physically. So I just don't do it.
I think though, and I've kind of given up. I've just decided not to be the good girl. I don't care. I'm out of polarity and I'm out of
Being the
limit.
naughty girl is so much more fun.
It is. It's so much more fun. But I think there's a need for you,
Definitely.
Michael, to straddle, especially, you know, like with shows and stuff. I think people do need that bridge. Like you're a bridge. You kind of decided to be a bridge. Like you can go either side. You can go totally out there, woo-woo, crazy. But you choose a lot of the times, I think, for the benefit of your audience and the people you're involved with. We need those bridge people too. Unfortunately, I realized I'm a way shower and I'm not called to be a bridge. I'm called to be at the forefront of, unfortunately or fortunately. But I think as we remember who we are in this knowing, like Michael, I think you have a knowing of who you are and you're choosing to be that. And Michelle, I think you have come to a knowing of who you are and you're choosing to walk in that. And that knowing is what we all come here with, that they program out of us. The knowing is our highest psychic ability that we all have. And I'm trying, you know, instead of saying I want to see spirits, I'm not saying that's not great. Sometimes it is, sometimes it's not, as you know, Michelle, or talk or be a medium or do this or do that. But we all have this natural knowing that is so right and so strong. Every single person that is, you know, a fire creation being that has a soul, they're so.
Oh, that was definitely.
It's higher than channeling, because that's when you're connecting with your oversoul and your all-time, all-space self. And that's when you're being the all, is when you're in your knowing.
Right. And when I was channeling for a little while, I would channel for a group of friends that, you know, I trusted and were open to, you know, you know, who or what you could be channeling. And it kind of made me laugh inside, but at the same time it gave me like a really great validation of, I could hear my voice change, but I was not present. I was off in like their world where they're in our world talking. And when it was over, one of my friends came up to me and they said, I could tell you were actually channeling. And I was like, well, of course I was channeling, but how could you tell? I was like, I'm thinking they saw me leave and whoever came in, and they go, your eyes changed. And I was like, okay, you can't change your eyes. I'm like, I can change the color, but you can't change the eyes.
Wow.
I've seen eyes go
And
black.
so, yeah, that was like great validation to me that, yeah, I really did step out. Somebody else came in, because I was like, yeah, I don't know how to alter my eyes to look like somebody else's eyes.
No, the eyes are everything.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Everybody's like, Dr. Kim, tell me how I can tell if someone has a soul or not. I'm like, really? Really? People, really?
Are they breathing?
Yeah. The eyes will tell you everything. Yeah, I have seen people's eyes, and they call, you know, oh, they have hazel eyes. No, these are not hazel eyes. This does not matter what color your shirt is. It matters what kind of mood they're in. It matters. And my son is one of them. When my son is upset, his eyes will go completely gold, like gold coins. He's got green gold like I do.
Oh,
and when he's upset, his eyes will go completely golden.
I think he's the lion race. That's why.
I don't know anything about that, but I know.
I think he's lion. That's a characteristic of the lion.
Yeah, it's crazy. And I've heard that my eyes change, but different. I've actually been asked if my eyes, if I have glitter contacts in, they said my eyes will get like glittery. They'll look at me. They'll just be staring in my eyes. And I'm like, what are you? Am I okay? Do I have something in my eye?
That's
They're like,
crazy.
I swear I just saw glitter in your
That's
eyes.
cool.
I was like, I don't even like glitter. I stay away from glitter. Glitter's a mess. It makes a mess everywhere. But they're like, no, it's literally in your eyes. Did you get eyeshadow? I'm like, I don't have eyeshadow on. I don't like eyeshadow. So yeah, I just think that's just crazy. But eyes are everything, Michael. Everything.
I'm kind of curious, Kim. I've noticed shows, and I have people that watch them that are like watching me, and depending on, I guess, what color light my ring light is on, they'll be like sending me texts going, "Open your eyes, wake up." But to me, my eyes are wide open,
No, your eyes are
and
always
in certain
closed.
colors, they're like I can see the whites of my eyes. But in other lights, it's like my eyes are completely closed, even though they're open. What is that, like some kind of trick of the light, or is that just something of me coming through and like
I
making
think
it look that
that's
way?
something. I don't know what soul race you are. I'm not good with all matching all the frequencies. I just know some of the more common ones I run across. But I'll look up. I think that that's your soul race. I think it's representative of who you are as a soul, because that frequency of our soul does come through aspects of our body. I'm also wondering if you might be Trucion, Michelle, which, because we've had many different lives, not just one race.
Right.
Trucion is you're a universe, like a crystalline universe. And I'm kind of picking up that frequency from you as well. So we're not always embodied. So I think in one of your lives, you were also like a whole universe, which would make
Oh,
sense why
wow.
your eyes would go like that, because it's like kind of the universe matter, in my opinion.
Kind of crazy to
It's
think.
interesting you say that, Kim, because I was talking to a guest that'll be on my other show that you're coming on in November to talk more about some of the esoteric parts. But she was like, she was looking at my picture and she goes, "Oh my gosh!" I go, "What?" She goes, "You're from one of the original root races, Rainbow." And I was like, "Wait,
Wow.
what?
Yeah.
What does that mean?" And she's like, "You got a lot of native." I'm like, "Oh yeah, I resonate with the native energies, but
I
yeah."
think
She
you
was
might
like,
be
"Root."
I think you might be inner earth, Michael. One of your lives might have been inner earth, like our Garthian. You're like vibing to me inner earth a lot, like really grounded, really rooted, really strong,
I
really powerful.
totally agree with a lot of that description of Michael. We are absolute opposites. Absolute.
You're like air and earth.
Yeah.
Yeah, and what's interesting is I was born under Pleiades on the Ides of March, which is, the big festival day of the Romans in ancient times.
I don't even know about all that stuff.
And by all accounts, like Palladians are like water sign. And yes, I can heal when I'm around water, but
Oh, water's
I generate a lot of heat. And they're like, that should not happen. And somebody recently, my friend Ane goes, "Well, you better check your rising because it sounds like you got like Leo or a fire sign in rising." And I'm like, "What rising? What?" I'm like, because for some reason astrology goes over my head. Alien races, technology, all that I can get. So why, it's like, how can this be so like?
Is he freezing, or is it just me that's seeing him freezing?
Yeah, I see him
Maybe.
freezing.
Oh,
I
I'm
must
freezing.
not like what this
It's
conversation.
kind of like a robot freezing, though. It's not like a.
There
Am
he
I
is.
still frozen?
No.
You're now.
You know what I'm also picking up? Okay, so you guys know that like this point of attention is in this body, but our soul's like fragmented, not by them, by us.
Right.
Sometimes by them, but a lot of us, we split ourselves into like 500, 100, 1,000. We're in other realms, other realities, other timelines, other places, in other bodies. One of the realms that you're in right now, Michael, I think you're in charge of a hell realm.
Oh, jeez.
That would make
I'm sorry,
sense
I
because
shouldn't tell this stuff.
You make me get my blankie out.
Yeah, because
Hi.
people often say to me, "You're gonna go to hell," and I've been like, and I'll always say to them, "I've been there, done that."
I think you're in charge of one. I think you're in charge of a hell realm. I think you're also one of the gods or goddesses that we probably could find a name for
Michael,
if I was better at
goddess.
frequency matching them.
You know,
Girl.
it's interesting you say that because when I
Yes.
was running my genealogy,
No, ma'am.
I kid you not, Odin and Sif and Thor came up as ancestors of mine.
Ugh, Thor.
And and at first I was like, no way. But then I was like, I went back and thought about it. I was like, you know, the Norse gods are the only gods that were viewed as humans that ascended up. And so it was like, interesting that that would be my ancestor.
To me, the Norse gods are the only ones that really make sense. Like, it makes sense. Like, when I hear the other things, like, I love a lot of the other ones, but like my brain understands that one. And I don't know, just because I have Scottish genetics or what it is, but that one makes sense. It makes sense. I mean, you know, the Thor, I know about Thor and Zeus, you know, the basic ones, those make sense. But
There's so many though. I mean,
Yeah.
there's hundreds. I mean, I don't mean the ones that are,
no.
you know how there's like the same name in like different
Yeah.
cultures. I mean, there's hundreds, literally, not just the ones that, you know. So sometimes people are like, you know, can you tell me the god or goddess I am? And I'm like, I don't know them all. Like, I would have to, like, I have to do a lot of research sometimes because everybody just thinks they're the major ones, but there's a lot of gods and goddesses that aren't major that people are, you know.
Oh, go ahead.
The other thing too is everybody assumes the Norse gods were only in the Norse areas. The Egyptian gods were only in Egypt.
Right.
And I was doing, I forget what it was called, but we were supposed to go back and doing a visualization of the creation of the soul.
Wow.
And I was like, so I went back, and the only two images that I saw that I could make heads or tails of, like you were saying, you know, there's so many, but the two that I could like resonate to was Isis and Thor. And as far as I know, the two of them never met according to mythologies, but our mythologies aren't the true mythologies. And so
true.
I was
the
like,
written version.
interesting that Isis would be hanging out with Thor.
You know, I'm surprised they give us anything, even as fiction. I'm kind of surprised they give us some of those stories, you know, that are real.
I think they don't think we'll think they're real. I think that we have been given so much information, but it has been classified as fiction.
Oh, I say that all the time. Absolutely. Yeah. 100. Well, I mean, just like, you know, all the movies, all the Marvel comic movies are absolutely.
Yes.
Are they real in this plane? No, but they're real in the secret space program. They'll be real in the future. And they've been real in the past, you know? So like I always talk about, a lot of these TV series and movies are based on the fire creation beings. And a lot of them are based on the super soldiers, to be honest.
Doctor Strange has always hit a spot in me. Like, I don't know what it is about him, but actually all things magical since I was little in Smurfs, like the whole thing has just fascinated me. But I have a question for both of you. So when I was a teenager, for my entire teenage years, I would have dreams and I would wake up with the name of Ishtar in my head. Every single time. It was always that. I told my mom I'm going to name my dog Ishtar one day. And I have heard about there's some wall, you know, like on Egyptian stuff, there's some kind of entrance gate that's painted in this beautiful cobalt blue, and it's something like that. But the name Ishtar. So if anybody knows anything about something throughout anywhere that is Ishtar, and it is exactly that. People have tried to change the name up, and I'm like, it is not that. It is Ishtar. I know it. It's like it's seared to my soul. Ishtar. And I dreamed it all my teenage years, but have no memory of the dream, which is very rare for me. But the name has always been burnt in me, unmovable. So I've always wondered what that was. So if anybody out there listening, or if you guys know what that could be, I mean, I have to know before I die. Like, I have to. I just don't know.
I
It's
was gonna say,
probably one of
I've
the,
only heard of Ishtar, not Ishta.
I know
So
everyone tries to do that, but
I'm sure.
it's a like a feminine, but I feel like it's a masculine, it's a male thing, or
It's probably one of your names from one of your past lives.
that's what Christy just said.
That's a major life is what, yeah, that's what it's feeling like to me. It was a major life. That, and of course all our lives are still running, but that was obviously like an important one to you, or who knows, it could have been positively, good. Or
Oh no, we lost her. Are you still there? Are you frozen? Or are you still good?
Oh, I'm here. I'm just.
You sit so
here.
still sometimes. I don't even know how you do it. Like, I'm literally wiggling my toes just to let the energy out.
Yeah, it's probably because I'm a hybrid. But
yeah, I mean, I'll actually get kind of angry when people would try to change it to the name that you're saying, and I'm like, no, I know. It's almost like they're insulting.
That's because I agree with Christy and Kimberly. It's most likely it's your name. We all have names. Hey,
is she back? Hey,
I got kicked out. You guys kicked me out. You didn't like what I was saying.
Yeah, I shouldn't have said that name, maybe. But I was telling Michael that I actually will get almost violent. Like, people like Kim, if he was trying to tell me, no, you're saying it wrong, I would be like, I know I'm not saying it wrong. Like, stop trying to.
I do think it's masculine too. So did you say it was masculine? It's not.
Yes,
it's
masculine. It's very masculine. Yeah.
I think it's a Middle East. I mean, I'm seeing a whole life. I won't go into it, but anyway.
Yeah. I understand
what
you're.
To bring it back into the paranormal a little bit, because I think everyone that's watching the show is like, wait a minute.
Michelle and I are like in our own world. We're about to go into past lives.
You know what? But, I think our viewers are used to us, talking about whatever.
Deviating.
Sometimes. Yeah.
Deviating some, but yeah, we always bring it back. And one way I want to bring it back is I'm curious, because you had mentioned the machine with the frequencies. You're finding, we were talking about backstage, incubuses and succubus with people. I'm wondering one step further is when you hear of people saying they went to this location and they got an attachment or implanted with something, does this machine remove that?
It doesn't. I mean, I can remove etheric things in the energy field. And I can tell you whether it's physical, because we have a lot of implants in our physical body. Like, we all have eye implants. A lot of us, you have an ear implant. I have an ear implant. A lot of us have different implants if we're in the programs really deep, or we're super soldiers, especially if you've been 20, 40, 60, 80 and back. But no, I wouldn't say it removes it. Could it? Possibly. Again, a lot of people claim a lot of things with it, but I generally use my own abilities to remove things and my own abilities to heal. And I use the machine as a diagnostic. That's how I use it. Some people, of course, frequencies heal. I'm not saying they don't. I just find my work and more accurate than this is ridiculous. So they're really after your show. Somebody's really watching your guys' show.
I know. And it's funny, because I'm about to raise the bar even more, because
don't get me kidnapped.
Yeah. I want you to talk about how you said the studies that you've done where you found that almost everyone has incubus and succubus attached to them. I think that's something people ought to hear and know about.
And explain what they are, because I don't know.
Well, I'm not going to go into the detail like you kind of went into when we were talking off, backstage. But basically, they come in pretending in your dreams, in your lucid dreams, and you don't even have to remember them. But they actually come and have different kinds of sexual relations with you. And it's not necessarily, everybody's like, well, men come to, one comes to women, one comes to men. That's not what we found at all. It doesn't matter. They take different guises. They take different forms. but it's not about sex. So they're using sex to harvest energy. They're using sex to steal your abilities. It's not about sex. They're using sex because we're so sexualized. Right. And everybody's like, oh, I don't watch porn, or I don't look at porn. You don't have to. It's not even about that. But I mean, Netflix itself, for goodness gracious, is practically porn. I mean, just our whole society is saturated with, you know, you don't have to cruise in the dark web to attract an incubus succubus, but there's so many entrances to our energy field. I think, and I haven't figured this all out. So, and I'm going to be really blunt right now, and I'm probably going to become very unpopular in 1 second, but I don't agree with a lot of Nathan Gillis's conclusions either. He thinks he's the expert on incubus succubus. And I know Nathan, and he's spoken in my groups, and I like him, but I don't agree with him, because I think there's a difference in researching by reading manuscripts of other people's experiences and running thousands of people's energy and seeing the same thing come up, that every night people are being, you know, harassed. I mean, I'm not going to say it, but there's family members that struggle with this a lot in my family even. And I think that's what really started it. I started to call family members, and I started running them on my normal clients, and I was shocked. I mean, I wasn't looking for it. I wasn't trying to do a study on it, but I have that prison break mind where I can analyze a lot of data into data points. Right. And I couldn't help but notice, including in my own life. And the weird thing about succubus incubus, and I'm going to challenge your audience about everything. Start being more conscious of your body when you go to bed. Like, look at your body, like do it, you know, when you get out of the shower, like, look, okay, my arms look like this, my face looks like this, my chest looks like this, my legs look like this, even your private parts, I wash down there, it's clean. Because I'm telling you, people wake up with hairs that aren't theirs, if you guys know what I mean, in their private areas. Some of that's from the Secret Space program, because they take you bodily. And of course, you may choose to have sex with your wife or husband on Mars. You know what I'm saying, Michael?
I do.
Some of it's legitimate and good or whatever, but some of it you're being raped or you're being used. And some of it is incubus succubus coming in your bedroom doing that crap in your own bed. But we have got to stop being stupid. We have to start understanding what this place is. This place is an force game. Not just the military, any ET race positive, any ET. I mean, we are sitting ducks. And that's what this place is. It is open. And yes, there's some stuff you can combat. Yes, there's some stuff you can revoke. But this is how I always explain this place. People are like, why can't you stop? If you know all this stuff and you know this and you're connected and you're so powerful and blah, 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 why can't you stop them taking you at night? You know why? It's like going and playing Call of Duty and said, why isn't this game little, you know, bunny through the forest? Why do we have to kill people playing Call of Duty? This game is a nightmare level hell realm game. By being here, this is what happens here. If you don't want to be here, choose something different in your next life, you guys. Go play little rainbow ponies, you know? Michael loves being a super soldier, I hate to tell you. I love being a super soldier, I hate to tell you. Michelle would not, and she is not a super soldier, so it doesn't matter.
Yeah, I don't think I actually, I hear all this stuff and I think, I just don't feel like that's my place. Like I feel, I dream of a list that I'm on, but it's not that kind of list. It's not, I hold hands. I bring people with me. I don't mean to, but I tend to always do that. I bring people that don't know each other, that I think wouldn't like to know each other in different walks of life, in different worlds. And I like to bring them together. And I don't feel like I'm this super soldier. I don't feel like I have anything to do.
You are not a super soldier. You don't have that. You're in the programs. They use you, but you're not a super soldier. Yeah. You're used by the intelligence agencies. You have clones. But you're not a super soldier. In your own soul work, though, you have a lot of alchemy in you. In your own soul work, you have a lot of healing in you. She goes.
So, yeah, and I'm kind of wondering, Kim, as we're talking about all this, like, I grew up seeing shadow figures. To me, I was never afraid of shadow figures. It was like, I mean, I could look out of the corner of my eye and see like three of them in a hall.
Me too.
And I was just like, that's normal. So, do you feel like it's because of the program that it's like they were watching me and that's why the shadows were always around me as a kid?
I mean,
growing up?
everybody who's a super soldier or high level up in the programs has a military remote viewer in their house at all times. So that could have been part of it. I also think you had memory of your abilities, and before this life you had recovered some of those abilities, so you came in with abilities that were partially open. They didn't totally shut them down or mind wipe you or memory wipe you from your abilities. So I think it's a mix. I mean, you've been in the program since you were, born, probably. So they've been messing with you. So I'm sure it's a mix. I think it's a mix of your own abilities, seeing the fourth and fifth dimensions. Because also, I haven't met a super soldier that isn't used for their psi abilities. And if you're being used at night for your psi abilities, you will have present daytime psi abilities that you might not be using them, but you could use. And you have abilities. I mean, you talk about
Right.
channeling. Not
That
everybody.
makes me sad.
I can
That
travel
makes me
between
so sad.
dimensions.
Yeah, you have lots of abilities that you have access to in the daytime. And so they're definitely using those abilities at
Yeah.
night.
There is one ability though that I really wish I could utilize in this world, and I'm sure it's just my brain that's holding me back. And an anime that I watch, Bleach, I love how they coined the term of it is flash step. It's where it's like you're here and then you're by thought, you're instantly over somewhere else.
I love that.
And I'm like, and I would always be like walking somewhere and going, oh man, I'm running a few minutes late. Hold up. And I'm like, damn, it doesn't work. And it's like, I'll try to flash step. And it's like,
No,
why
you
won't
should
it
keep
work?
trying. And I'm sure, because I'm reading your field, I'm sure you have access to bi, tri, and quad and more locating, because I can do that. So you can stay in this body and stay here and project your consciousness, even to a form that somebody else could see. So to me, that's a close kin to that ability. I would practice that, what I'm talking about. And I believe you're very close to doing what you're talking about.
Okay. Normally, I wouldn't be asking this in this show, but Christy has really piqued my interest. Am I connected with GHW Bush in the SSP?
Oh,
Um,
I wouldn't even know how to look that up.
it's more a frequency like in your field. I do think there's been some projects or programs that you're involved in. I don't think like only or by any means or mainly, but yeah, I do think there's probably a connection.
I don't know what all that is, but I just got really scared when y'all started talking about that stuff. So
It's really icky. It's a really icky connection.
I don't like it. I'm really sick to my stomach.
Yeah, that's it. That's it. Really, that's the kind of connection we're talking about. It's a really.
I don't know what it is, but I don't like it.
Yeah.
And so another question I have for you, Kim, and hopefully this will break that connection for you, Michelle, is
Thank you, please.
I went through a deal when I went through regression, and I was given the choice of, with past lives, you know how everybody's mind has them behind a door. I opted to leave the door open because I wanted to know. My dreams, my visions, my everything was red for several months to probably almost a year before I started seeing other colors. Would that be bleed through from the programs?
Yeah, more than likely. I feel like, Michael, you have a lot of lucid dreams that you don't understand are your memories of your missions and what your clones are doing in your agency and your SSP mission. So if you don't keep like a dream journal either on the computer or writing it down, I feel like you're pretty lucid. I just don't think you capture it. So I would do that because you're going to get a lot of information and a lot. You talk about pieces. You're going to get huge pieces. You're pretty lucid. I feel like when I look at you, it looks like some of your programming is breaking. I don't know why. I don't know what you do so that it breaks, or maybe your soul family's helping you, but it seems like some of your programming is breaking and you can recapture quite a bit of your memory.
Yeah, because and I think that's true because I was like 10 and I was talking to my parents about an AI war. And I was like,
Oh,
who
the electric wars. You were in the electric wars.
I was, and I was in Orion, the Orion Wars.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Oh, I
You're
love that
right.
word.
And
Such a good word.
my favorite moment that's a bleed through was is I was telling my parents that we were fighting a war and we were knights, like the Jedi Knights,
Yeah. Oh wow. Yeah.
had lightsabers, that stuff
Yep.
is real.
Yep. It's real.
And when we determined we were no longer able to win this war, we
There they go.
went, buried our
Bye,
sabers,
Michael.
went into hiding,
They're like,
and
no.
it was. And then I saw the movie Star Wars Return, The Rise of Skywalker, and that scene when she buried the lightsabers, I had tears in my eyes and going, "That's
Aw.
what we did." That was like I was watching myself doing that.
Yeah. When I watched Star Wars, I cried. I don't know how old I was. I was under 12, but still. Star Wars isn't really a movie you cry through the whole thing. I cried through all Star Wars. It was like my life. And then I found out it was my life. So it was so weird. Because
Wow.
you know, Michael, that not this is hard to explain. So the Jedi's in all time, all space. So any reality that you see, the kind of Star Wars Jedi thing, the Jedi frequency is the highest frequency a soul can hold next to the all, and only those frequencies are allowed to be Jedi.
Wow. Is everybody froze now but me?
No, I'm froze. I froze still because I was like trying to think, how did I get?
Why am I the
picked
only
up?
one not freezing? I'm getting a little jealous.
No,
here.
you were freezing. You froze on mine. You
Oh,
froze a
was
lot. Everybody's been
I was like,
freezing.
I'm getting a
on mine.
little jealous here.
No,
I
you're
don't-
frozen. No,
Actually, I don't.
hasn't
I
she
don't
frozen,
get
Michael?
jealous.
She's frozen.
She's froze a couple of times,
I
but
wish I could get jealous. I can't get jealous. It's like impossible. I can get alpha, but I can't get jealous. I just can't get jealous. I would like to get jealous.
No, you don't. You don't want to be jealous.
It
no,
looks fun. It looks very stressful. Actually.
No, it's
Uh,
super intense. Jealousy
yes.
leads you to the worst things, in my opinion, of any emotion.
I'm either really nice or I'm really stabby. There's no middle ground there.
No, it's just the life you came from. You were a high level healer. So
That's funny because my friend who saw one of my past lives before it actually broke through to me, he said you weren't the top, but you were right below, and you assisted the one above you, but you healed. You were the one people came to that you talked to, and you'd calm them down, and you were that I don't even know the word for it.
yeah, you were just a really I just have to call it high level healer who was very much in the flow and very balanced. So you're not coming from a life of violence or jealousy. You're coming from a life of being very centered and very calm and very healing. So that's going to spill over into this life.
That's good. Yeah. I'm kind of wondering if that's not why everything is so chaotic now, because everything is like someone threw a match in the fireworks. And so everything is just coming at me so fast. I'm trying to process everything, but it all makes sense, but it's just so much so fast. And now I'm just pure chaos because I can't process all these truths all at once.
Yeah. So I'm going to say right now, Kimberly, I am really looking forward to our episode on Writing Through the Unknown, where we can delve into this more. And I'm looking forward to the episode with Christy too, because I'm getting like, I'm enjoying that Writing Through the Unknown, because it's like every person I talk to is like giving me pieces of the puzzle. Yeah. And it's like helping me piece together like why I remember things and why I think about things differently. Like, one example is tying it, going back into paranormal, is I hear a disembodied voice. I go to the voice. It's
Mhm.
like I feel drawn to go to the voice. If I hear a noise somewhere, I run to the noise. I want to know what it is. Versus, I'll see people like going, "Oh my gosh, there was, some kid was talking in there, and there's nobody else in there, and you
Oh,
see
I'm
him
not
running
going.
out of the building." And I'm like, "Why are you running?
No.
This is what we're here for." And it's like I have no fear of it. And I know I'm,
Uh,
protected and stuff, but
That makes
It's
me
also,
nervous that you
Michael,
have
it's
no
a super
fear.
soldier.
I
It's your
don't.
super soldier training. You're trained to run toward it. It'll happen whether a real crisis happens. All super soldiers are trained to move off the X and go toward danger. I chased somebody that broke into my garage who was high on drugs down the street in my bare feet with no gun because it's muscle memory. That's how we're trained. So whether it's paranormal or whether it's real life danger, we're going to react going toward it because we're muscle memory trained by the Secret Space Program.
Yeah, I just think
so
that all of you that go to, I mean, I'll stay in a room where there's a spirit where I'll get everyone else out. When I want to run, but I don't. I instinctively shut the door and stay. But I don't
Well, that's because
understand this
you have
lack
a
of fear
relationship.
because there are things to be scared of. You're not scared
Oh,
of them, Michael,
totally.
but you need to be scared of them because they will steal things from inside you.
But we're trained to be also, Michael, you and I both, I shouldn't say this, but it's true. So you and I both have a degree of numbness in our emotions. That's also a training of being a
yes,
soldier. I know.
I'm
Stand.
like, people will try to get me angry, and it takes forever for me to get angry. Or
It's the programs.
if
Kind of.
they want me to cry, I'm like, if something happens to me, I will not cry. But if something happens to somebody else, oh my gosh, I could start tearing up in a heartbeat. And it's the strangest thing, like watching a Hallmark movie, where these people connect. I'm like, oh my God, that's so beautiful. I get like tears
Oh, I've
in my
got
eyes.
to do that. I can't
But
even
it's
believe.
like something happens to somebody around me, and it's like I don't shed a tear. It's like I can feel me crying inside,
Oh,
but I don't cry on the outside.
I'm
And
telling you, you're a hardcore super soldier. I know we're not supposed to talk about it, but you are.
I think it's sad. I think it's sad when y'all say super soldier stuff. It makes me sad. Like the whole thing makes me sad for y'all
Well, me
because it's
either, Christy.
yeah,
like do
I
you have
can't
a
either,
choice? It's like
Crispy.
everybody talks about being taken and all this stuff, and it just makes my heart hurt that everybody's like, I don't know why. It just makes me sad.
Well, it's traumatic. I mean, not all of it. So like, I mean, we're also taken by our soul
Sometimes.
families. Yeah, we love it sometimes, but we're also taken by our soul families. We're taken to biodomes. We're taken to medical. I mean, we are. I mean,
Yeah.
sometimes they repair stuff in this body at night and it's positive. It's not all negative, but we're all taken all the time. And I know we don't have time to go into it, but also another thing I discovered through the technology and remote viewing is they're freezing time in towns and states and areas and homes all the time for 15, 30 days. And you wonder why. You're like, oh my God, life is so monotonous. Like
No,
literally, they're taking like whole towns. It's
yeah,
so interesting. I mean, we're just finding out a lot of stuff.
definitely. Well, this has been really fun. I wish we could just like sit around a campfire.
I feel like we are sitting around a campfire, kind of.
I know. I
Yeah.
love it. It's so
That's
much
my
fun.
favorite thing to do. I love that so much. Just like talk about like all these existential,
Yeah.
like
love it.
tell stories.
Oh, I know. I
Oh,
love it.
yeah.
And honestly, we help. We're helping somebody. We don't know how many people that are listening or will listen that we're helping. And you've helped me.
Yeah, I'll share it.
Yeah, it's a great thing. And yeah, I've really enjoyed you being on here. So hopefully we'll interact again in the future.
And
Yeah,
one of the
you.
things I love about doing these shows is, kind of like what Michelle's saying is I have people who I'm like, okay, I know you're into paranormal. I know you're into the spiritual side. I know you're into metaphysics side. All of a suddenly, out of the clear blue, all of a sudden it's like the people that I thought were purely metaphysical interest only are like, hey, I like that show you did on this and that. And I'm like, wait, you're interested in that? And it's like all of a sudden, all the different worlds are starting
I
to
agree.
It's
merge
the
into
why not.
one.
We're the why nots. You know,
I
why
love
not?
that. Yep.
Why
I love
not? You know, that's what we all are. Because once you open up one gate, it leads to another gate that leads to another gate. And you know, one time my mother, when I got married really young and moved out to California and got exposed to all kinds of religions and stuff. And I remember my mother said one time, the problem is you have learned about too many religions. And I
Mm.
always thought, what? How can you learn about, because they're all fundamentally one thing.
That's true.
I mean, that if you boil everything down, it's just mushy water. So
Yeah.
it's all the same thing.
I
Agree.
wrote a term paper on that.
Really? I agree.
I
I
did.
love that.
On how all the religions are basically the same.
Yeah, it's just about
They
being a
Yeah.
good
are.
person. Don't hurt
My,
people for no reason.
my favorite one was taking when New Age was a really big religion trying to be, and everyone's like, it's not a religion. I actually wrote a paper that said, here's the fundamentals of what makes a religion. Here's the New Age. Here's the Catholics. Here's the Islamics. Here's the Jewish. Here's your Orthodox. What do all these have in common? Everything. All the qualifications are there. So why are you saying it's not? And it's like, everybody was like, how did you prove that? I was like, because I thought and researched. But yeah, I love doing that where people will challenge me like something can't, like my co-host, I love her to death, Kel, on Paranormal Versus. We were discussing one day how supernatural is not paranormal, and I was like, "What do you mean it's not paranormal?" Yes, it is, and she goes, "No," and I said, "Okay, look, angels. Can you explain that?" No. Well, that's unexplained. The word paranormal actually means unexplained.
Right.
And she was like, "Oh my God, you're right." It was like, yeah, and that's why I love the paranormal is because it's like it covers so many topics that people don't even think about.
That's true.
Mm-hmm.
And I love how we do live shows, and I can turn them into back to subjects all the time.
Are you gonna try and rein us back in again? That is just
Oh no, actually, I'm gonna take a slight detour again.
okay.
And I was thinking about it, and now that you said that, my mind just went blank on what detour
That's
I was
not
going
my
to take.
fault.
And oh man, and it was about being the. I was gonna see if it was attached to the programming that we go through. Shoot, I'll have to try and remember for the next show because
Yep.
we're already 15 minutes over, and
Sorry.
I apologize. I
I'm
wasn't
sorry.
watching the show. I got caught up in the conversations, but yeah, thank you for coming on. And I gotta say, I love doing these live shows, and I'll tell Michelle all the time for full transparency. I don't write questions for the
No,
guests.
he
That's
doesn't.
great.
Drives
Wow.
me
That's
bonkers.
impressive.
I like to
used to-
make them conversational. And when you said this is like a conversation, I love hearing that because it feels like my intentions coming through. And I love to see where the show goes. Like we were discussing backstage, we were not going to talk about probably half of what this show was about.
Right?
And where did it go? It went there.
Oh, sorry.
But you know,
Right.
sometimes when it's a very serious guest, because we do have some very serious guests, then I just feel like you need to have like set serious questions for the serious guests. But when we get a guest and then they're just like you, and it's just like, yeah, what do you want to talk about? Let's go. And you know, that's the good stuff. I really like
Yeah,
that.
I like
Serious
that's
ones
my
are good
favorite.
for
My
info.
favorite is when I forget I'm on a show, and
Yeah.
some of the time I forgot I was on a show. I thought I was just talking to you
Yeah,
guys. You know?
chilling with friends.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
The good stuff. Organic. Everything is better when it's organic.
I agree. I do.
Yeah, and I'm like totally like lost right now because it's like
He's
my
so
mind is
funny
going.
sometimes. He gets so robotic sometimes. It's funny. I'm just like, he'll just
He's
be
going,
like,
no, he's going out of his body, Michelle. He's being thrown out of his body by
oh,
the
is that what that is? Because sometimes I'll talk to him and he's just talking like, ah, da, da, and then he just goes, whoa.
No, he's out. I can feel him. He's
Yeah.
out of it. He's going out of his body.
Oh, is that what I'm feeling when his
That's
vibration
what-
changes?
Yeah, you're feeling the absence of him. So you're reading it as robotic. It's just him leaving. You're feeling the lack of him.
Because it's like his moods are changing, so it throws his vibration off, and I'm like, what is he doing?
I
Like,
bet if we sat here live 15 more minutes, no, 5, I give it 5 minutes, I bet he'd almost go into channel.
that's crazy. See, and I don't do that. I hear the channeling thing, and I hear that people say channeling, but I don't know if I channel. Like, I see things in my head. I describe people in my head. I
don't
know
think you
things.
channel. I think you and I are more like, I don't channel. You and I operate differently. We go get the information. It's hard to explain.
Or I just sit here and they just bring it.
Yeah.
I'm the hunted, not the hunter when it comes to spirits. I don't look for them. They just are always
Oh, same here. That's what happens to me. That's so weird.
They're like, oh, you're a hunter, you hunt ghosts. I'm like, nope, I'm the prey.
Yeah, I'm their prey. They just, Christy's like, come back. I want to see who comes in. No, I don't want him to come back. I want to see who comes into Michael. Come on.
It's totally different.
So actually, it's kind of funny because as you were saying that, I could feel the energy around my hand getting really cold. Like there's a portal opening around my hand, and yeah, I could feel myself sliding back and forth.
He's a totally different person. He's extremely the straight line when he does it.
What
straight?
What I'm feeling like is going in. Oh, I remember now. Okay.
Welcome back.
The Akashics and information like that. I'm like, I have seen, I've been in the hall and I have memories of being in the hall and being able to see my book.
Excuse me.
And it is, I'm not going to lie, it's super thick, but I'm feeling like it's because as everything is recorded and with now like finding out we are not in a linear timeline, but in a loop.
Yeah.
Everything.
That how much of the Akashics, are really accurately saying this is where we were, or is it where we're going?
You already know the answer to that. I'll tell you the answer. Again, the Akashic Hall records, you know how you were there? Anybody can be there. Any ET race, any motivation, the Dracos, the Cabal, any magician, any alchemist, anybody that knows about it, knows how to access it. And guess what? So much on it is BS. That is one of the biggest things that I will say till the day I die. Half the Akashic records is absolute BS because people go in and they take out stuff, they rewrite stuff, they put stuff in that never even happened in all time and all space. That is one of the most, anything that what I call junk consciousness or consciousness is pushing, you can pretty much assume. So that's a big thing. Everybody's like, oh, I read the Akashic records. Now, I'm not saying you can't read them. I can read them too. But I also, it comes down to truth has a frequency. And you need to be able to go through every page of your records and be like, yes, no, yes, no, yes, 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 no, no, no,
That is so cool. You said that truth does have a frequency. You can tell when someone's lying because their vibration changes.
Yeah, there you go.
Yes.
And it's interesting for me because like Michelle saying what triggers her, when I get accused of something I hadn't done, it's like I go from easygoing, laid back.
Me too.
Flick a switch and it's like, oh, I'm like, it's on. You did not just, and I will.
Me too. Yep.
It's like, and I know it freaks people out and it scares people, and I've lost some friends over it that I was like I cared for dearly, because it's like you were saying, my emotions will shut down the second you falsely accuse me of something. I mean,
You're like, bye
it's like
bye, goodbye.
it's
Don't
over.
listen
It's
to
like
you. Yeah,
done.
yeah.
Wow, this is fun. I like this. But yeah, you should sometime, I don't know when, but you should see him when he actually does whatever he does. Because it's two humans, two different.
Interesting.
Because sometimes I'm just like, is he even listening to me? Because I just don't even know.
I don't even know. That's so cute.
Actually, it's funny you say that, Michelle, because somebody asked in a metaphysical group, you know, how do you listen? And I said, and I responded to him, I said, oh, I listen unlike anything anyone has ever seen. And after a while, I got a response from the author of the post, and he goes, can you explain that? And I said, so to answer your question, Michelle, when I'm listening with my ears, I'm
Yeah, I
listening
know.
with my heart, my soul. I'm listening with empathy. I'm listening to the emotions. I'm listening to the words. I'm listening to everything. I am taking it all in, not
Well,
just
yeah,
what's said. And so I'm like,
but I do that too. And I know that feeling. I know when you're doing that, but this is something different. You think that you know what I'm talking about, but I know that you don't, because you'll be like, ha 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 ha, and it's just, you are just like the most type A flat line. Your voice doesn't change. It doesn't change pitches, nothing. It is just as solid as possible. It's like I was laughing with this human, and then this human doesn't have a sense of humor. He doesn't. It's a totally different person. I know what you're talking about, because you do. You invest everything into 90% of everything, but there's those 10% where you're just,
He might be going into Alter too, because he's really hardcore. He's like hardcore MK Ultra split. He's owned by Monarch, so he's going to go into Alter pretty easy too.
that's when I get off the phone with you. Sometimes we're talking and I'm like, yeah, okay, I'll talk to you later. It's because you are just like, and I don't know what to do with that, because I'm all expression. I don't know how to be.
Michelle,
So
you could actually help him though, because you're more
Yeah.
integrated than he is. You could help him integrate some of that Alter into one.
how though?
Because
How
yeah,
you're,
because I've never heard myself monotoned.
Oh, yes. And I mean, yes. I bet if you ask people, do you ever notice when I'm like me, and then I just go kind of like, and the only way I can describe it is you're just like a straight line. Like you don't have, because usually he'll lean back in his chair, or he'll make some kind of expression, or he'll, laugh or something. And then these times there's none of that. There's no emotion. There's just flat line. I mean, and he still responds. He still, we're still doing it. It's just a different level, and the vibration, it's like it just drops. It's not gone, but it's like it's here, and then it's just. So yeah, but I bet other people would say that they know what I'm talking about. But it makes me feel uncomfortable. I have to get out of there, because I don't know how to respond to that. So how could I help him?
Well, just I mean, whenever you're in the presence of someone else, there's a little bit of you like align to that person's vibration up or down, like kind of. But I'd call him out, and I would actually call him back. I would be like, could I talk to the original Michael? Like I would call him back, and I would point it out, and then I would tell him, Michael, do you realize you just went into that thing I was talking about?
Okay.
And Michael, you need to reach out to that part of you, and you need to invite that to be more one, whatever is triggering that, because there has to be a word, a frequency, a tone, a subject because they have us programmed to switch alters, in certain cues.
And I'll be careful to notice what we're talking about when it happens, because with me it could be anything. We could be talking about brownies one minute and astronauts the next, the way I bounce around. So I
Right.
can't
But you might
say,
be, oh, you did say that, Christy. I didn't pick that up. She did
yeah.
say that.
Yeah.
Come
And I
back.
saw it.
That's exactly what you need to do is you need to say, come back. Michael, come
Okay.
back. I want to talk to you, not to whoever I was talking to.
Right. Because it's just really weird. It's like two different people. It's,
The
yeah.
first step to integrating your altars is to be aware you have one.
Oh.
So you're already
So
in the first step.
I remember now what my question was going to be, and it's because everything I've heard from people that I've talked to in the SSP on the show and everything is always the bad side of what's the programming's doing. But I have memories of going to worlds and doing
Yep.
like peace treaties
Yep.
and helping them. And so is that me breaking out of the programming and using it for other purposes, or
I'd have to look at it, Michael, because you could be remembering past lives, future lives, or other aspects of your consciousness that you are now. It's hard. I mean, we'd have to trace it to see what you're remembering. Not everything is involving that because you're so much bigger than that. Again, you're such an old soul and you have so many points of attention and so much going on. It's not just the programs, is just one tiny part of it as far as even what's intersecting with this reality. Because looking at you right now, I'll tell you, hold on. I mean, I'm already seeing over 1,000 clones. So how do you know you're not connecting with a clone reality, that has nothing to do with the programs?
right? And it's interesting you say that because I went to a store and at first I just wrote it off as a paranormal event, but I went to a store where I was picking up something for my mom. And all the clerks were like had this astonished look on their face when I walked in. And I said, "Hi, I'm here to pick up my mom's clothes." And they're like, "Why are you back?" They literally said to me, "Why are you back?" And I said, "What do you mean?" I just walked in the door. And they said, "You were just in here 10 minutes ago and picked something up." And I was like, "No, I kid you not. I literally just walked in the door and drove up and drove up." And they were like, "You're doppelganger." And I was saying to somebody, is the doppelgangers our clones being used without us knowing it? And what would actually happen if we met our clone?
Nothing. I mean, you very well. I mean, a lot of mine are actresses. I know who's some of so yeah, I mean, you probably have. I mean, there's a great chance you have. Nothing would happen. Nothing happens except you might realize it. But here's the thing about clones: even though it's 100% you, that clone has been influenced by eating different foods, living in different countries, having different lives. Were they born in a lab? Were they dropped in a different family? What's their job? Have they killed 1,000 people versus 100 people? Have they killed 500? It's just like you would recognize yourself, but it's a completely different being in a way. And that's the point. It's you having a different point of attention at the intelligence agencies. Clones are actually used more by the intelligence agencies than they are used by the military, because the intelligence agencies are the ones mainly doing the assassin missions, mainly doing the spy missions. We're not talking about planetary things. Planetary things is another level. But I hate to tell you, in interplanetary stuff, there's not a lot of spies. That's
No.
kid stuff. We use tech. We use quantum technology. We don't need spies. We have quantum technology. So a lot of the spy and assassin stuff is happening in the game realms and realms like this. Very gritty 3D, kind of things where you're killing people and you're doing assassin missions. So a lot of the otherworldly stuff is going to be either past memories, future memories, secret space stuff, but not necessarily. I think, again, it's what you go back to what you said, Michelle. It's the limitations. Not everything is secret space. Not everything is past lives. Not everything is future lives. Not everything is like everything is everything.
Yeah, why not? Why not?
And we can trace it and sort it, but we just assume, and we have to start assuming. We're never going to work together and get information about how to make this a better place if we don't work together and stop fighting each other. You're right.
Yes.
Wrong.
Over nothing.
Right.
Yeah.
People fight over nothing. Like I can't even see the base. Like arguments are the stupidest thing, because you start out with one thing and you end up not
That's
knowing
true.
what you started
Yeah.
fighting about.
That's
Like what is the point in it? I just don't get it. But I had a question for y'all.
Well-
How did y'all know that y'all did all this super soldier stuff? Like, how would I figure out what I do? Like, I don't feel like I do stuff like that. I feel like I do something very different. Like, how did you figure that out?
I mean, I didn't even know anything about it. And I read James Rink's book and started watching Super Soldier, and it was about them until it goes back to that Nelly. I'm like, I'll tell you what was life-changing for me.
Okay.
The 20, 40, 60, 80 and back thing. Because when I heard someone talk about that, I'm like, that happened to me. Because when I was in elementary school, I had the most adult mind with the weirdest memories of anyone. I'm like,
Yeah.
and I am like, and I felt so crazy. And they say that's a very almost exact of how you feel when they take you and then drop you back. Like, so you've lived this, like 80-year life, like doing all this stuff wherever, it's not just Mars. And then they drop you back and you feel absolutely crazy as like a kindergartner or a fourth grader. And that's not normal. Like, and so I kind of started putting together and then having memories. And then because I have 100% accurate technology, here's the thing. Here's the lie. That everything's a mystery. Nothing's a mystery. 100% of anything about anyone can be known, past, present, and future, in all time, all space, all the way back to the all. Period. It's all frequency. It can all be read.
Yes,
So it can all be read. If you have the ability to read it, which I have a great ability, so do you. So I'll do both of you. But
Really?
also, yeah, because if you can read frequency, you can read frequency. You can read
Oh,
frequency.
everything.
Yeah.
Everything.
You can
My
read frequency in the past. You can read frequency in the secret space program. You can read frequency in another reality or another timeline. It's the same thing. But we also have technology. So my technology can read anything, any person, any being, any place. And, I mean, it's based on my knowledge and who I am as a being that programs it. But still, I mean, all can be known. And so all this BS that we can't know, we can know. We can know who's lying. And that's why I'm a danger. That's why I haven't gone into the secret space community, Christy, because I'm a danger to that community. Because I'm telling you right now, and hear me, Michelle, run this frequency.
Okay.
75% of that community is absolute lying, BS, and false memories. 75%. There is so much misinformation in that community. Not to say it's not a valid community. I'm not like Shane the Bruner, who's like, oh, there's no secret space program. It's in your imagination. Okay, Mr. CIA, thanks. Why don't you go cash your check? I mean, he is. He's a paid agent of the intelligence agencies. So, yeah. I'm not like him, but I am saying there's a lot of liars. There's a lot of mentally ill people. And I do mean truly mentally ill people that do not have real memories. And there's a lot of glory hounds. There's a lot of people that like the attention. And there's a lot of people that just make crap up. They don't have a memory. They don't have a psychic bone in their body. Not that they couldn't. And some of them are soulless, and some of them are paid by the agencies. It's a very corrupted community. All the communities are, including consciousness, including paranormal. They're all corrupt.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And that's the thing is these people, they try to lie to me, and I feel their vibration, everything. The minute a person is getting close to me, I have already started feeling their vibration. And when they get close to me, just within a few minutes, I have already picked exactly how their vibration works. And then they stand there and lie to me and tell me, oh, I'm gifted. I'm gifted. I'm like, a gifted liar. You're a gifted liar. That's what you are.
See, you're the technology. Ultimately, we are the technology. AI came from us, not the reverse, so you're your own technology, if that makes sense,
And I feel bad for them, though. I'm not happy that they're lying to me, but I feel bad that they feel they have to lie when if they would just touch some different parts of themselves, they could do things.
I agree.
They just feel themselves full of fakeness that they can't find the reality. So it's sad. I feel bad for them. I mean, I would still want to throat punch them, but I still feel bad for them. I mean, so
Yeah, it irritates me. I mean, the paranormal community, the Bigfoot community irritates me. All the communities irritate me, but it's a journey. I try not to let it, because
it is.
everybody's on their own journey, and that's why they're here. And a lot of those people, and I know you might not agree, Michael, but a lot of people don't have souls. A lot of people are NPCs. So a lot of it
I
doesn't matter.
believe that.
I don't want to
Absolutely.
get distracted by them either, and let them get me all.
Oh no, I've come across some people that I'm like, I would enter the room and I'd start walking towards them, and I would be like, there's absolutely nothing to you. I can sense, I can read nothing, and turn around and change course and be like, I'm not even going to engage you.
And I felt people who I can feel how they have cut their soul loose and traded it. I can feel it. I can feel it like you see in those movies where the angels have had their wings ripped off. That's how their soul is. That's how their spot is. It's ripped and it's severed, and they don't have one.
Wow.
I mean, it's frightening, because what did they want? And it's power. It's always power. It's greed, and it's power, and it's money, and it's all of that. And they have severed their soul from their whole being. They're hollow, and it makes my insides shake. I hate it when I come across
Michelle, I want to ask you something real quick. Sorry.
Yeah.
Have you ever met? I meet a lot of these, and unfortunately, recently, or kind of recently, the past couple of years, I call it a dying soul, or almost walking out soul. Do you run across that where they're kind of barely there? They're kind of like on their way out.
See, to me, it's like a wilted plant.
Yeah.
It's like if they were a body of sand, and it had all gotten away except that one little.
Yeah, that's a good explanation. I call it a dying campfire. Like there's just a couple embers left. Like it's like dying out, and it's not like going back up. It's just like, it's kind of.
I think it's funny how you think of fire and you're a soldier, and I think of a plant or a sand.
Yeah, you're fair though. That's you're elemental. Yeah, for sure.
Everything, but yeah, I definitely see that, and I'm noticing the more and more people's souls are gone.
Thank you. Nobody's listening to me.
I tell people, I used to think it was aliens, the people with no vibration, and then now that I've came into this new thing, which I knew the 46th year would be a lot for me, and my 47th is going to be even greater. But I knew something, and this year I've really started getting the visuals of their everything. Like it's not like I'm seeing blood. It's not like I'm seeing all this stuff. Yeah. I'm just seeing this and smelling it. I'm smelling these things. This rot.
Yeah, about a third of all scans I do, they're asking me what their soul family is, and I'm like, you don't have a soul, so and they're like, what type of fire creation I am? And I'm like, non-existent. I mean, I don't tell them that.
I'm afraid that we're going to come across these kids who are these TikTokers, these Instagrammers who are putting everything out, and it's all a facade. I'm afraid that we're going to come across in a few years, when these kids are maturing into their mid-20s, their 30s. I'm afraid we're going to have a whole world of soulless. And I believe that these TikToks and these Instagrams and these things where they're doing all of these motions, and they're doing these things that they don't realize what they're doing. These dances, these things are very tribal. They're very magical. These dances that these things are doing. I mean, when I see them as magic. When they're doing these formative dances, a lot of these things, they strike things with me that I don't know yet, but they seem very intentional. They feel very intentional. And I feel like with I'm going to get so much backlash on this, but I feel like every single move, everything, it's almost like they're dancing around the fire, and they're releasing parts of them with everyone, with every million follower, with everything. They're releasing their real self. and they're with that, their soul is going with it. I mean,
a lot of it is AI. I mean, a lot of it is these different AI groups, the Draco AI, and there's other.
I'm horrified of AI. I'm horrified of it. I've been scared since iRobot came out. Everything about it frightens me because we cannot. I mean, to me, I feel powerless about it. I don't know how to fight something that doesn't exist the way that I know things exist.
Yeah.
Michael and I already won that war. That's why we're talking. If we hadn't won the electric wars and the Orion wars, we wouldn't be talking.
Nope.
Yeah, I just get so nervous, but I don't understand organic. I don't understand.
So one thing I want to ask you, Kimberly, before we go, because it is getting really late.
I need to go to bed, kids. I'm old. You're young. Kids can stay up. I need to go to bed.
Oh no, I'm feeling it too. I was talking with another person in the program, and I have one memory in particular that I'm curious if you and Christy have ever encountered. I was in space in one of my flagship ships.
Excuse me.
And we were approaching a gate, and something was coming through. Mm-hmm. And I looked at everybody and I said, "I got this." I go up onto the ship. Mind you, we're in outer space. Start walking on the ship.
Yeah.
And I look at the gate and just raise my hand and raise my arm like this and just point my hand out, and everything coming through started going back. It's like we never fired a weapon.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'm wondering now, is that a memory from like programming days, or is that like my other part of my soul coming through and saying, look, this is what we can do?
You can do that. That is, you've done it many times. You've done it thousands of times in trillions of years, in many scenarios, in many bodies, in many lives, in many situations. You know, you have that. It's memory. It's that knowing that I was talking about, Michael. It's knowing the extent of your powers and some of those specifics of what you've used and how you've used them.
That is cool because, it just felt like so natural and like
because
I wasn't even worried.
Thousands of times.
We already know.
And it was like it didn't even dawn on me I'm walking in outer space and wouldn't be able to breathe. It was like it was like I didn't care. It was like I guess I knew I could breathe anyway.
It's not like they tell us that, but you know that. That's why I keep saying, I don't know if you've heard me. If you ever watch this again, you'll hear times where I say, Michael, because I can tell that you have. I can read it in your. I can read it in your field. That what you know.
No, I've been hearing it, and it's like I can, and a lot of what you've been saying, it's like I could feel it resonating through everything, and it's like when I get those moments, it's like, I know. It's like the universe put this show in this moment for this reason.
I believe that. I do too. For all of us, I think we all three and Christy got something out of it. Like I think everyone that listens, will get something out of it. But the three of us, I think, kind of a divine type of an appointment.
And I don't know about you guys, but the last 6 months, everything is intensified. The vibrations have intensified. The visions have intensified.
I've noticed that.
Everything.
Yeah, and I hate to tell you, Michelle, but brace yourself because it ain't over yet. We're just on the tip of the iceberg of that. It's going to go far.
And I am okay with that because I now have more knowledge and I know the people to go to get more knowledge. So I'm better with it. But if this had happened when I was in my 20s, I'd have checked myself into the psych ward. I mean, I was already scared I had schizophrenia by hearing the voices because that's all I knew. You hear voices, you got schizophrenia. So I had no idea it was spirit chatter. No idea. So I was in my 30s. I went through absolute hell in my 20s thinking I was insane, praying to God that I could just keep it together to get my kids raised.
Yep.
And then
Been there.
when I realized it, I was like, oh, and now I'm just on and on. But it is, I don't know. I don't know. It's a lot.
Yeah.
It's just a lot to process. But I'm excited because I feel more like me now than I ever have. Like I feel like my wings are free. You know, I can fly anywhere I want. And I've always dreamed about jumping like a gazelle. I can feel that feeling in my body. Like it's just,
wow.
it's amazing. And I feel that now. It's just amazing. Like it's so good. And I'm so glad.
Michelle, though,
Kind
the
of funny.
elementals, though, you really need, I hope you reach out to them. Like you talk about, like, I know discarnates, but do you reach out to the elementals and the fae and the little people and the Sasquatch and the dogmen? Because
yeah.
I feel, okay, because I feel like they really.
In fact, everyone laughs at me because if I were to pick a man, like he would be the largest, furriest man ever. Like I'm like a squatchy lover. I love squatches. Like I'm 6'5", 7 foot, completely covered in fur. Perfect.
You're
like if
cracking
you can,
me up, girl. I've got some. Come over to my house. I've got some in the woods for you.
In fact, my last husband, one of the things that I loved the most about it because he had hair on his knees. Like,
oh my gosh, I can't stand that. That's hilarious.
love it. I love it. I just love it. There's not a man tall enough or hairy enough. Like, yeah.
Although
Mike's like,
no, that doesn't surprise me. I've kind of sensed that a while ago.
Oh yeah, but I'm gonna have shirts that say I love bearded, tattooed men. So yeah,
that's hilarious. I love it.
It's great.
But it's funny. Like Kimberly was, I heard asking who I was gonna bring in, and my hand keeps getting colder and colder, and I finally got what they wanted me to say, and now it's warmed back up to normal. And it was, yes, things are going to go way worse, but not as bad as what we in the program have experienced. They're not going to let it go that far. So it's like, at least we have that, you know, if whoever's telling me this, because I can't figure out, I'm not sure who's saying it, but yeah, they're saying it's going to get worse, but not as bad as what we've seen.
Well, why do we have to suffer? Like, why? It's like making babies suffer. Because half of society, if not more, probably way more, is so out of touch. They're just babies.
Because you were brought up in a dualistic system, so you won't know one without the other. We in the program have left the dual system. We don't have the duality. But
I don't understand any of that.
Humanity has been brought up and raised of there's good, there's bad, there's right, there's wrong, there's black, there's white. And you can't say to somebody, you know, here's peace, because they won't understand what that peace means because they have nothing to compare it to.
Because they're babies.
So the worse things, so as bad things get, they're going to understand and respect the freedom and peace that they're going to find on the other side of it more, and it'll have more meaning, and they'll gravitate to it.
Well, that's partly why we come here, Michelle. We come here, those that have chosen to come here, which most of us have in one way or another. We come here because we are all powerful and we're all wise, and we know that, and we want the contrast. We want some suffering so that when we figure out the game and win it here, we're like, okay, we're going to go back to that happy life. But I guarantee you, we're going to choose unhappy lives again because we're eternal beings and we're not going to be bored. We're going to choose other challenges for ourselves, whether battles or whether creation. This isn't it, kids. This isn't the worst of it. Or, we're going to die many deaths. We're going to love many people. We're going to, unless we choose to go back to the all, which is always a choice, we're going to live many lives and experience many pleasures and many pains.
I don't know. I just don't want anybody to suffer.
But you can choose when you leave this life, too, to go back to a fae world where, unless it's,
well, but But
It's
the hottest of fires brings the greatest of growth. So
and also it's pleasurable. I always say I didn't start living till I was 43. My life was hell up until the age of 43 in this reality. The contrast makes me get up every day and almost be in like so much joy I can't handle it because I had that 43 years of hell. So there's something really delicious in that contrast, and we know that as an ancient soul.
I don't think if I go and I can choose to be Fae, I just think I'll just stay there. I
think you're going to choose to be Fae next when you get out of the game.
Yeah, I don't think I'm made for all this.
Like Kimberly, I view Earth as the training grounds. This is where people come and train because I feel like it's the only world of its kind. To where it
is.
do what we do to each other. It's like I know there are times where the other races out there were like, everyone's like, why don't they come and save us? It's like, because they're looking down on us in shock and awe, going,
how the hell
can you do that to each other?
No. Do you know the Galactic Federation and races? They used to let races come in and save us. So we're prey, whatever. Yeah. They would say, I would say, please, 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 whoever, cetaceans, whoever, the angels, whoever, all the things I've been, come save me, come save me. So then they'd save us. Do you know once we got out of here, we'd be like, why? Like the Galactic Federation used to pick people up, used to actually come in and pick people out one by one when they asked. And then people would be like, you weren't supposed to take me. Do you check me out of the game? Why did you do that? So they stopped doing it. They don't do it anymore, and they don't allow it anymore because they got too much SHIT for doing it. This is what we don't understand. We don't understand that our oversoul wants us exactly where we are in exactly the bodies we're in. Secret space, non-secret space, taken, non-taken, married, divorced, male, female, whatever. Our oversoul wants us right where we are because of what you said, Michael.
Yeah. We're living in a matrix system, actually, and that's why those movies were so popular. As it pointed out,
they're factual movies. Facts. 100%.
I can't watch The Matrix because it scares me. It's like a horror movie to me, and I don't watch horror movies.
A horror movie you're living every day, Michelle.
No. And I have things in my head that I see in that middle ground between sleep and awake, and it's horrific. I don't know where.
Wait. Can I say something about what you just said? Brilliant. When you're between sleep and awake, that's what death feels like. So nobody needs to fear, but nobody needs to fear death because we've all been in that.
This is the most gruesome, brutal,
several times,
horrible stuff. So that to me, that would see in the mind that I was raised in would say, like, am I seeing my hell? Because that doesn't feel like anything of me. This is like torture. And I'm seeing it in first person. It's not happening to me.
I think you're either going into your clone bodies or I think you're going into memories.
It's horrible. And if that was something that I lived to see those things, then I understand why I want all light and happiness now. Because it is things of beyond horror movies. These are like black underground images.
Folks, I really would love to continue this, but we are now 5 minutes from 2 hours.
Yeah. Okay.
But we've still kept 4 viewers the whole time.
I know.
4 people.
You 4 people we're torturing.
But it was fun. It was fun.
So
scary, but fun.
Thank you for coming on, and thank you.
Good night, Christy.
Yeah, good night, Christy.
Yeah, good night, Christy. And thank you, Christy, for coming in, and thank you all for watching and joining us on this journey, because this was a journey I wasn't even anticipating today, and I'm surprised I was actually able to stay up for this 2 hours because I just got in town yesterday.
Oh, wow.
From a trip.
You're fine.
And next week will be well, actually not even next week. Tomorrow I will be back with Chelsea turning Coxie to talk about dream analysis, which is going to be a real fun episode coming off of this one.
Mm.
And then next week we will be back with who is it? Oh, Ghost Hunting Beauties, the founder. And this Saturday night will be the next episode of Riding Through the Unknown, where Mary Beavers will be our guest. And you guys got spoiler trips tonight because Christy and Kimberly are going to be future guests on that show. So thank you for that. And so with that, wherever you are in the world, I bid you good night, good morning, and good afternoon, and hope you make it a blessed day.
Good night, everyone.
Bye.
Good night.
You have just listened to the energy that surrounds us with your host, Michael Kopf. Be sure to tune in next week for our next episode.